Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Status Chat for Friday, the 27th of September, 2024. I am Delbridge, Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I got a good show for you today. I opened with a tease in the title, and we're going to get to the business right now. If you like this content, please go to CallDelToSell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you when each Friday's blog has been uploaded. Thank you. First order of business, I believe this weekend we have the Alabama-Georgia game. That's going to be fun. But that's all the football we're going to talk about, because we got to talk about why we're loading up even more discounts in the Fed rate. They're coming down. We're going to take some of those points off. It's a prediction, and I'm telling you, I don't think it's going to do any good, and this is going to be a hard lesson, but I'm going to tell you the truth. That's what I always do. All right, let's start with the PCE data for today. Now, I know you know this because you watch the channel, you watch the show, and you know that we hear all about the CPI, but that's not what the Fed uses to make decisions with. They use the PCE. And over here on the center panel, we have the PCE, personal consumption expenditures. Rather than take you to CNN or CNBC or someplace like that, Money Market Watch, we're going to go to the government, the BEA, Bureau of Economic Analysis. All right, now what do we see? August, 2.2, getting closer to that 2%. And if we go into the details, which we'll be here all day, we're going to have a long, very, very long day. A measure of the prices that include people living in the United States or those buying on their behalf, pay goods or services. The PCE index is shown for capturing inflation or deflation across a wide range of consumer expenses and reflecting changes in consumer behavior. And that's an important part. It's the change in human consumers' behavior. And people have actually slacked up a little bit, but with the cuts that just came, we're having some consumer confidence get a little bit better. They think that the cavalry is coming and they're going to spend a little bit. That might lead to a little more inflation. I don't think it'll matter one iota, because I think the economy is in a state. Now, why won't it make any difference to home buyers and home sellers? Because the problem isn't the interest rates. It's never been the interest rates. The interest rates we should have possibly gotten there to about 8.5% very early in the game, but we didn't do that. Why? Because the Fed is always playing catch up. Let me ask you this, very serious question. Everybody likes bacon, right? Crispy bacon, soft bacon, bacon rolled in cinnamon and sugar and black and dark brown sugar rolled into twisted into little sticks. Everybody likes bacon. But when do you clean your pan? Before you cook the bacon or after you cook the bacon? Unfortunately, with central banks, they typically do not respond in time to things. They wait till there's a problem, because if they acted before there's a problem, people would be saying, what are you trying to do? Ruin our economy with your changes in cost of money. So they wait till there's a problem, till everybody knows there's a problem, till people are screaming there's a problem before they react. And then when they start cutting rates, they typically overreact, but they do it a little too late. So let's look at something that we've looked at before. This is an index that will tell us how our home cost based upon the median in a given area, and this is from the Fed in Atlanta. See, it says right there, Atlanta. We're going to slide down. You can Google that yourself. I'll put the link in the description over in the YouTube page where the Status Chat lives. But what I want to do is come up here to this tab that says National versus Metro, because this is going to draw us a clear picture of where the problem lies and when it started. So let's go ahead and type in here Nashville. All right, Nashville, Franklin County. Let's go ahead and maximize this screen a little bit. All right, now what we've got going on here is we see that we've been flat below our 30% affordability threshold. And that's based upon the simple reality that your home with this insurance can't be more than about 30% of your income and be considered affordable. Other than that, it puts your stresses on you from having to have cars and medical care and stuff for the kids or grandma or whoever, wherever trips what we call life, right? So you got to have some of that breathing room. Well, let's look at that again. All right, now what we see is we were coming across the ground till about 2020. You know what happened in 2020, and then we had the COVID because it was back here in 2019, and then we had a little bit of stimulus, and we started printing a lot of money because we didn't want the economy to drop, and we stopped foreclosures and we stopped evictions, and then inflation started. And if I overlaid when the Fed acted, it was late, but we see some results. But where are we today? Our price, this is national, says that I don't know if you can read it. We'll see in post-production whether we can. It says annual total payment share of median income is 43.8%. Too high? Yes, it's too high. Of course it's too high. Now, when we go back and look at that, so we look at the 45% for Nashville, Davidson, Murfreesboro, Franklin, Tennessee, and we see that it is 45.7%, call it 46% of the median income is the median home price. Now, you see in this little box, it says annual total payment share of median income, 45.7%. Median income is 83.966, call it $84,000 a year. Median home price is $458,333. Total monthly payments, that's principal and interest, taxes, and insurance, PMI, or what some people would call PITI. In this same thing right here would be $31.96. Now that's what most people's mortgages are because they have their mortgages escrowed. Year over year change in total median monthly payment is $259. So what is that telling us? It's way out of whack. It has been for a long time. No, this particular problem in some respects has been brewing for a while, but it has certainly been fomented in the last 3.5 years when we started giving away the free money. Because remember, what does free money do? It increases the money supply and you got more money. Milton Friedman says the definition of inflation is more money chasing after the same goods. Think about your loo roll when we had COVID and your cream cheese shortage or anything else. When there's not enough supply, it costs more money. That's called a cost of living. But when there's just more dollars being able to outbid you in the markets in general, that is inflation, that because the GDP hasn't grown. Now, I started to put that in here. GDP looks like it's coming in hotter than expected for Q2. We just saw that a day or so ago. Now, we'll return to that center panel and we'll look at something else. Now, earlier this week, I had someone say on the social media, because you know social media can be a good place to get information. It can also be a very dangerous place to get information depending on who's putting the content out. But we're going to look at this statement that was said. That said, home prices are still going up. You need to get a mortgage now. You need to buy a home now. Now, while I do typically agree with that, because I think we're going to go into a time when credit may tighten. It may not be that there's not lower rates, but if the credit tightens and you're not in good shape because you've been stressed for the last 3.5 years, you might find out that although you're ready, willing, and able to buy, that you can't get the loan to do it. So we're going to look at this right here. We're going to look at median sales price. This is from the Fred. I think I'll see if I can't get my magic little button if I'm on the page to increase a little bit so we can zoom in on this. Fred, this is from St. Louis. That's where Fred lives. We had the home living in Atlanta. Each of the divisions has a little different special thing. New York has some jobs and business related stuff, but I want to concentrate. Let me zoom it in a little bit more, but I want to show you the big picture first. See this green line? The green line, if I get my little pointer to sit on it, right there. I don't know if it's going to cooperate. There it is. It's green, dark green. That is your median income. Look how flat that is. Let me zoom in for you so that you can see it even better. It's fairly flat. That's your money. That's your income. That's your median income. The red and blue line are up here. If we go up to top, median sales price for new homes. That would be your new construction, and the median price for homes sold. I could have, if I could find it, put one in for existing homes. But what do you see for prices of homes in the United States as a trend? Is it going up or is it coming down? And why could that possibly be? New houses are a little bit more rocky, but we're looking at all homes is a little bit more quiet and it's going in the downwards direction. Let me zoom across here. And what does this tell us that we're having going on? We're increasing at a faster rate than we are our income. And more than that, if we were to slope from here to here, we're going to see that we had that massive increase right in that area, right in between 2020 and 2023. We had a massive increase. Now that's a lot of money. And since the more quiet line there, the red line, is all homes, we can see that while we may have flattened out a little bit since January of 2023, we really haven't done what we call tanked. We haven't seen a massive drop. So we can already see that we have massive increases of money in this. But I am human, just like you are. And I know that when I look at my investments, my equities, and I look and I see how much they've gone up, and I hear on the news that something's going down, I want to freeze up just a little bit because, oh no, it's going down. I don't want to lose money on this deal. I have to remind myself how much I have gained. So if I have something that has gained 60% and I can't sell it at 60% because we've dropped down to maybe 55 or so, and if the trends may be going towards 50% increase over the last inflationary period, the last 3.5 years, if I can't keep my mind clear and realize that that's 55% over, I can lose a few percent and still net to the good, especially if I was loading it on the debt side. If I was loaded up on the debt side, I might want to make a change. But I know what you're thinking. I have to have a place to live. If I sell now and prices keep going up, I won't have it. But you may be able to improve your position. But if we return back to that screen, you see incomes have just not kept pace. And the problem isn't desire for buying a home, it's demand for buying a home. Because quite honestly, demand is not made up of all those people who want to buy something. I want to buy a Caribbean island of my own, but I don't figure into demand because I don't have the money to buy a Caribbean island. So I don't count in that. Only people that count in buying a Caribbean island are those that have the money, the means, the desire to do so, and the ability to pay for it. And we are seeing that even with interest rates coming down, we've got such a big gap, it's not going to help. Now, that's a prediction. You can mark it down on the calendar and see if Odell's right, because he may not have a clue. He may just have an opinion, and it may not be well grounded in fact. So let's go back to this and find a different screen to look at. So I would say overall, at least on a national average, home prices are coming down a little bit. Certainly, they're not increasing on the same slope. So if you were counting on this slope to sell your house today, you're going to be sorely disappointed because there's not going to be anyone who can afford to buy that. Your pool of qualified buyers is shrinking. Now, if we go into that credit tightening cycle, as we often see when people start losing jobs, if the job market doesn't hold, we're going to find out that there's even less people qualified to buy because they can't get the money. Well, we looked at the home. I want to remind you this, it was going fine until 2020. We had the big spendimus. That caused this big thing. And we did have a little bit of a pent-up demand action, which did not help. Now, let's look at something more local. Well, here we are at my favorite website in the whole world. I may be a little bit biased. We all have biases we have to look for, but this is my favorite website in the whole world, CallDelToSell.com. And then we have some lovely stuff here. We've got all the kind of QRs if you want to contact me, if you want to get the business card, if you want to get into the Real Scout, if you want to see me on Facebook, on X, LinkedIn, you can find me. I don't hide. Anyway, you can see that. Here's an old video when I was a young man. Show you how to compare homes using this one right here. So let's go up to the most important part, reason I brought you here. Okay, let me zoom in so we get a good clean picture of this. Recently, they changed how things were done. I had to rebuild all of my live data. And I can't give you the MSA, the entire greater Nashville area anymore because it's not offered to me. I can only give them to you by county. And I maxed out the website, so I can't add any more areas. You're limited to Cannon, Coffee, Bedford, and Rutherford. And if you want something else in there that's not listed, you'll have to call me direct and we'll look it up together. But anyway, we're going to look at one of these. Let's see what prices are doing in Rutherford County, the whole county. Because remember, all real estate is local. Here's pricing trends. Well, what are we seeing? If we come over here and we hover on the line or outside the line, we get all of the data for each of the colored lines. Let me zoom in for you. Do this again. So we get the colored lines and we see that the blue line is average sales closed, red line is median sales closed, green line is under contract, but that's not closed. They're still showing in most cases nowadays because we want to take a backup on this. And so we have also in here the orange, the gray, and the blue. But let's look at that top line. Which direction is the top line going there? Is it going up or is it coming down a little bit? So it would look like pricing trends in Rutherford County for single family homes is trending down a little bit. But remember what I was talking about, that slope? We're still way up. If you need to move a property, you're going to have to price it right because price sells. It really does. Conditions and location, those other things are also very important. But which one of those can you affect most easily? Can you affect where that house is? No, so location's not it. Can you affect the condition? Yes, to a degree you can. What about construction? Well, either your house is built a certain way or it's not, okay? If you don't have corbelling in your bricks going up the side and columns going up, the colonial columns or whatever somebody's looking for, or it's configured in a certain way, you're probably not going to change the construction a lot. So what is the one thing that you can control the most? It's probably going to be the price. Now let's go back and look at that one more time. So what would you want to do if you need to make sure your transaction goes through? You need to price it accordingly. Now that doesn't mean give it away for free, but you need to be cognizant that these high prices, it wasn't that long ago we were down here in this level, and we're way up here at this point. So I think we have some room to work with. It's something that you have to figure out. Now days on market, they've come up and they're beginning to come down a little bit, which shows us that we are either pulling homes off of the market, which is dropping that to where the ones that are priced right are moving, the ones that are prep right, the ones that show right are moving, or we're actually getting a little bit of an improvement. But if you'll notice in that, we've got a little bit of a green tick up because we're starting to get some inventory increasing. Look where we are over here. We're getting inventory increasing in Rutherford County. We're still holding pretty well. We look fairly cyclic in that nature. We're not up to 2019 levels, but we are moving a little on the upward bounds. Now, that's good enough for this one. Oh, I do want to show you showings. Let's find showings. There it is. Showings are going up. So it's not that people aren't interested in looking at buying a Rutherford County house, but we're simply not closing the number of houses that are out there. Is it going to help when we drop the mortgage rates down? Based upon the previous charts I showed you on the income going across and the rate to which housing has increased, how many of those people are going to be able to buy a house? You're going to have to figure out, is one in the hand worth the two in the bush? That's because that's what you got. Can you book one today, that one in the hand versus the two, maybe three in the bush, if, something magical were to have happened? Well, let's look at something when we talk about mortgage rates. Now, I think they're going down. I said they were going to go down. I anticipate them going down. So I have three lines in this one, also from Fred. I have the dark blue line, which is the market yield on the U.S. Treasury on the short end of the curve. This is the 2-year constant maturity. And then we have the red line, which is the St. Louis Financial Stress Index. This deals with how the economic conditions are stressing consumers, buyers. And of course, we have the green, which is the Fed funds rate, effective rate. Now, I'm going to leave my little finger on here to keep that green line on. And do you see, stop it. You see how we're not anywhere near a historic high since 1994. So it's not really the rate that's causing the problem. Hasn't been. Although this one, when it jumped up post-COVID and we started reacting to the inflation, that did add quite a bit to people's mortgages. I'm not denying that part of it. But look what we have here. We're beginning to have a very big spread between the Fed rate and what the actual 2-year Treasury market is going for, what people are buying. And they're buying at lower yields. So that this gap will likely close. If we look, it hasn't been at a historic high or difference. Here we have back in the past, somewhere around 1995 or so, we see that the market yields were higher than the Fed rate. But now we've got this inverted situation here. We're below this, and the Fed rate is going to have to chase that number. Let's zoom in a little bit closer, get a little bit shorter period of time. Let's go up to about 20, let's go somewhere at 20 here so we can catch 20. Hopefully we'll catch 2008. Now remember, we know 2008 we had a bad time. We're already past that. We're in 2014, and we've seen this huge change in the market yield. But now the market yields are coming down. You see that they're coming down. The green line is going to come down with it. I predict. I could be wrong. But as I've said in several posts, when does a central bank lower the cost of money in order to spur the economy on? You know, they raise the cost of money to slow the economy. If the economy is truly as good as the GDP says it is, then the economy is going good. Then where's our inflation if our PCE says it's around 2%? That two things together tells me what the Fed is likely to do in my estimation. It's my personal estimation, nobody else's. I'm not claiming anybody else's. Nobody's claiming me. But the GDP is what the Fed needs to say the economy is good. Keep on plugging. The PCE coming down shows that inflation is not a big issue if we can trust those numbers, that they don't get revised up after a period of time. So that tells us that the Fed has now the room to drop the rates a little bit. We just saw that last chart showing that there's a big spread between what the market thinks going to happen and what the Fed currently has stuff priced in. You see the green line there did not have, it was behind, it did not have the 50 basis points. I think we're going to get another cut, and it very well may be very soon, and maybe 50 basis points nearabouts instead of 25 basis points if the jobs do not hold. And why are we dropping that money down so low so quickly? It's because there must be something that you and I can't see because we don't have the tools. We are not part of the FOMC committee. We don't know what's coming our way. We don't have the leading economic indicators to tell us what's coming our way. But when they switch and they start dropping that money down, we see that China is now in such a bad shape that they have started discouraging people from buying bonds, and now they're starting a round of stimulus because their economy has tanked. It's probably, I don't know, made up number a year ahead of us. We see Europe is having some issues as well. We just are a little bigger, a little bolder, a little stronger, but we are not an isolated island. We are not an island in the Pacific. We are part of the global community, the global economy, and if they're having trouble, there's a good chance we're going to have trouble. Now, I think that's pretty well much what we have to do. I've got one more little piece of bad news to show you. I consider it not good news, and it is in the FHA. I have pulled this up. This is from the Housing and Urban Development dealing with FHA loans. Down, we're going to look at August of 2024. Look at this report. They have a couple of pages I want to show you in here in particular. When I'm not a loan guy, you need to talk to your finance guy. Let me make that perfectly clear. But as far as August, we have this insurance in force. This is an agency backing up these loans. That's how much they have in force at this point in time. 30-day delinquency rate. That just means you're maybe behind one payment, but you're not in bad shape yet. I want you to read this line. Let me zoom in just a little bit more. Can I do my magic plus button with this one? If I put my mouse back on that screen and do my pluses to get a little bit wider, yes, that looks a lot better. All right, let me slide my thing more center. All right, there we are. We're going to pull this up. This is also single family loan performance trends in the FHA alone. This is FHA alone. Table 1 is delinquency rates by month. And I want to come down here to reasons for delinquencies. Let me take one more little bump up here. New 90-day delinquent, because it's the 90-day. If you're in a 90-day delinquencies, you need to be working on that. So one way or another that you can either gracefully exit as much as humanly possible, or that you can pull that back. Last I look, and I'm also not a title attorney, so I can't give you legal advice in any shape, form, or fashion, but I believe, having gone through 2008 and have had tough times of my own, I can relate to people in a previous stage of life. It can be tough. You want to work with people. You don't want to just stick your head in the sand. You want to do whatever's best, and that would mean including realizing that you may have an equitable right of redemption. I believe we're still a state that has equitable right of redemption, which means once you get to that stage, you'll get a final letter that says if you don't pay all of our legal expenses and get all caught up in current, or if something else isn't done, you're not going to be able to redeem your property. And you need to talk to a lawyer about that, find out exactly what that means. But anyway, I want to go down here and look at this. New 90-day plus. These are numbers, I think, at 90,000, which is better than 114, which is better over here in 2020. You remember what was going on back here in 2020? We were seeing a lot of that COVID stuff coming. So now we come down to our current year in 2024, our latest data, we're at 62. So I show you that because I don't want you to think that this is someplace we've never been before. Back around COVID, as COVID was coming in, we had more in 90-day new delinquencies were showing up. We're down from that, so that's good. If we look at these, we're down from that from Q3, Q2, Q1, and Q4 of 2023. So we're doing a little bit better, but there's still new delinquencies coming on the books. Now, if we go back up to the top, that 23 is because of a reduction of income. Unemployment is an issue. We're going to look at those trends. Excessive obligations, having too many car loans, medical, whatever. Marital difficulties, that's probably divorce, although we can't really say it. It just defines as marital difficulties, death, or illness. Let's look at that bottom row if we can remember what they are. 23%, 11%, 19%, right? So we have an income issue with unemployed, but the unemployment is only looking a little more than 1 in 10. Now we're going to look at some demographic data from the FHA. Delinquency rates by loan and property type. We got to start at the top. Rates in percent of active loan counts. Past due, that's not 30 days behind, but that just didn't make a payment on time. 30, 60, 90, foreclosure, bankruptcy, which means the court process has already begun, obviously, and serious delinquency rate. We'll have to look at that definitions. All loans. Still, we have the insured shares up here at, what is that? Almost 8 million in status. Past due, 12%. All right, look at what happened with the refi. Don't always think that a refi is going to solve your problems. It may or it may not. You really need to look at those terms if refinancing is even an option for you. But when we look back at it, these are actual purchases, are 13.75. That's more than 1 out of every 10 of those is because it's a purchase. Now you add the refinance to it, and that gets to be quite a number. Well, let me chase this rabbit, because this I was going to mention in a different video. I do want to point out by credit rate score, credit range, whatever we want to call it, loans with credit score. Not all loans. There are some programs, some government programs that will give you a loan when you don't have a credit score, but they will base your rate on other means. So that's some of the FHFA's policies coming here. Well, look where the big bulk of this is, of loans in trouble. 620 to 720 or 719. That's where, let's just go ahead and call that one 40 and this one 33. So that's what we're going to call 73% of the loans in trouble right now had a credit score of 620 to 719. Now, if we want to go down to property type, all property types, detached, that's most of your homes. 85% of these in trouble are with detached homes, not manufactured homes or condos, townhouses, that sort of thing. Here we go. This is the one I was looking for. Purchase loan type. Repeat. That means you've had a house within the last 3 years and you're not qualified as a first-time home buyer. 14%. Call it 15. What is it for first-time home buyers? 85.20%. People in real estate can't give you financial advice. It's outside of their licensure. But I find just talking to people, being human, probably more human than a lot of people are. I have a lot of humanness in me, a lot of challenges of my own. But a first-time home buyer who've never had to put a water heater in because they came home one day from work and the water heater is dripping. They've probably not had to deal with flood damage in the house and have to have their own insurance. A lot of renters don't have renter's insurance. But there's a lot of cost that comes in with owning a home that people don't always like to point out. That owning a home, yes, you're gaining equity. The other side of gaining equity is it's yours. You got to keep it up. You can rent a car. You don't have to worry about if you blow out a tire. It's the rental cars come. But if you own that car, you're going to have to change the oil, do the greasing, do the gassing, do the tiring, do the balancing, do the washing, do the waxing. It's yours. You've got to take care of it. First-time home buyers are often stressed making a transition out of renting into the home ownership. I'm not saying don't do it. I am certainly not saying don't buy a home. It's a good thing, but just you need to do your math and you need to look at the environment. Source of funds, down payment assistance right there. Let me zoom back out for you. Government assistance, 10%. Relatives, grandpa, mom, dad, best friend, someone in that is related to you, 16.75%. Other, 1.64, like you got a great significant other who's willing to help you with the down payment. Seller funded at 3.5% or 0.35%. And no down payment assistance. Look at that. We can't blame it on people who took a program, took access to a program they had a right to. 71% of the delinquencies in FHA did not receive down payment assistance. So we see it's not necessarily the dusties, the brokies, the people struggling. We see that the credit score, the vast majority of the units that are in issue have the typical scores. And you see from that, that the vast majority of the people with FHA loans that have issues are not receiving down payment assistance. So they have some money in the game. They've got a little bit in it, but there's something has happened that has thrown them off their feed. Now we just have to watch. Prediction was that we're getting more Fed rate cuts coming. The downside to that is if they cut it, they're still trying to catch up to the market. And I can show you that one more time. Let's look at that and see what I'm talking about. That gap between up here where that green line is at the very top and where the blue line is where the market is, that's saying that the Fed is going to play catch up for a while. If they can muster the courage to do so. And I do relish that thought that we have lower rates. But the main issue is the price. The price is high. It's not the loans. The price has been the issue. It's hard to get a seller to realize if they've ever seen it in a review anywhere in their paperwork that a house is worth so many dollars, it's hard for them to cut loose of that and to think, well, that was then, this is now. Hello, I'm Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, CallDelToSell. That's 1 L and Del, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. These numbers are here. We're going to do our weekly comparison, but I forgot to mention I was out running errands earlier today, had some banking, had to do my Walmarting to make sure I don't accidentally lose some weight when I'm not intending to. And it reminds me of something I learned a long time ago. With weather like it is today, it's a great time to go look at properties. I'm not talking about touring properties inside of the homes, but to look at the property, the land, the site. Look where the water is. Look at where the low spots are. Your low spots are going to show up when we've got a condition like this. We get a lot of rain dumped in a short period of time. It's a good time if you know that you're interested in a certain area or a certain neighborhood. A rainy day like today is a great day to go drive around in the neighborhoods and look for where the water is. That's just a little pro tip I give you. Now, these numbers are from week of 9/2024. We had 23,501 in the total opportunities on the Real Scout system. You can sign up. I showed you the QR already. That increased over the previous week. We had 4125 in the under contract still showing, because remember, something could fall through and you want to make sure that if you're listing your home that you have a backup plan. There might be somebody that really wants that. Keep a backup plan. Always have a backup. Plan B, 4125. That increased over the previous week as well. The ratio did not change for 8 weeks in a row at 18%. So for this week, the 27th of September, we had 23,036 in the opportunities. That did dip down just a tad, but not a lot. 4127 were the under contract still showing. That went up by 2. And the ratio for the 19th week running was at 18% between what's available and how many are being held on to that have contracts but are still being held on to. So that's it. I hope it's been a good show for you today. Let's get this thing cut and uploaded where you can see it. And remember to click like and subscribe. Let me know how things are going. Throw a comment. Tell me you don't agree with me or where I'm wrong or I'm just total nutters. Or if you do think I'm right or maybe on to something, let that know. Share me out there with people just for at least a different point of view. Thank you.